We're talking about Ann Wilson and Schaefer's talking about saw her at the Opry, and she's in the studio. Here she is.
Whoa!
That's what happens. We talk about people, and they just magically appear in the studio. It's amazing. How are you, Ann?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
So give us your story. For those who don't know you, you may know her more in the Christian world.
Yep.
And so now, going into the country, why? Why'd you want to go to country?
Well, I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, so I grew up around bluegrass music my whole life. My parents raised me on Christian music, and my brother raised me on country music.
Do you have some? What was your go-to song that you sang at church? Did you have accompaniment tracks? Do you remember those?
I don't. No.
Of course not. Do you sing in church though a lot?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
really?
I did not sing growing up at all.
I still don't.
Yep.
I'm the worst. I just let the people around me sing real loud, and I pretend I'm out.
Well, look up Sandy Patty someday. You'll love it. So, all right. So you grew up around, and so the Christian music is all in your house and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had both genres, loved both of them equally. And so I actually started singing through a pretty tragic event. My brother was killed in a car accident in 2017.
The one that introduced you to country.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He's my only brother, and his name was Jacob. He was 23, and he died on impact at the scene and passed away tragically. We were devastated. I have an older sister and my parents, and we found out about it, in the middle of the night. It was horrible. The police came to our house to tell us the news, and that actually led me to sing for the first time. So before that, I always wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to work for NASA.
Me too.
He did.
Really?
Yeah,
I did.
Wow.
I did.
That's
Like one of
awesome.
the highlights of my life was go and spend time at NASA.
Aw,
The only
mine
difference is you
too.
would have made the weight limit. Not so much.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got in. So your dream was to be an astronaut, and then you started singing.
And then, so like the day after my brother passed away, I thought I was like all by myself in the house. So I'd go down to the piano because I'd played piano my whole life. My mom forced all three of us to take piano lessons. Like we had no choice. So I knew how to play the piano, but I didn't sing in church. I didn't sing in front of my family. So I was downstairs by myself, thought I was alone in the house singing this worship song. So, and then my mom comes running in the room and she's crying and she's like, Ann, I had no idea you could even sing. Like, where's this voice coming from?
What?
And I was like, what are you talking about, Mom? Like, I was like kind of mad that she had been like listening to me, like have this moment with God.
Mm-hmm.
And so she ends up asking me to sing at the funeral because we couldn't find anyone to sing. We have a lot of music in our family on both my mom and dad's side, but nobody would be willing to sing at the funeral because they were like, oh, we won't be able to make it through without crying.
Sure.
We're not going to do that to
Right.
ourselves. So they asked if I would sing, and I wasn't even nervous about it. Like, it's weird looking back on it now, but I sang for the first time in front of anyone at his funeral when I was 15. And that led to me really falling in love with music and feeling like I had a calling to do music and to write songs that bring hope to people.
That's
So.
incredible.
Yeah, and your
Yeah.
album, by the way, I was listening to it because it's interesting because we mentioned that better known in the Christian world, but then a lot of people thinking, oh, she's going country. What's going to change? I literally was telling Big D, listening to the songs, I got through all 16, and I was like, man, it is. It's very. The messaging is very pervasive through everything. You're not abandoning your beliefs at all. It's very strong throughout the album.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, the one that we're talking about, Rain in the Rearview, it's the new one. We'll do that and come back, talk with Ann Wilson in the studio. You gonna love her. Coming up. Rain in the Rearview, Ann Wilson. Why'd your parents name you Ann again? Did they not know? They didn't know? They did?
I guess they didn't know because it is so annoying to deal with.
You picked...
I almost wore my heart t-shirt today, and then I thought that might actually start us off on the wrong foot, so I'm not going to.
Have you ever had, what's the most embarrassing? Do you have an Ann Wilson story? Like they think you're...
Yeah. Oh, it's so bad. I walked into my record label, Capital Christian Music Group. This was like right after I signed my record deal. I had braces. I was 17 years old, clearly blonde hair, this short little like 17-year-old little girl. So I like have my manager sign in for me, and I run to the bathroom while he's signing in for me. The security guard is freaking out like, oh my gosh, the Ann Wilson from Heart. I'm going to get to meet her. And like he didn't, like he was trying to like interrupt to say no, like that's not who she is. Well, then I walk out of the bathroom and he like sees me and I think it like clicks in his head like, oh, that's the wrong Ann Wilson. And his face turns blood red.
Oh, wow.
And he just like goes back to his little like office and I'm like, oh. But clearly like, I don't know how in the world he would have thought that I'm Ann Wilson. Like I'm this little girl. My hair's
Right.
blonde. Clearly I'm like, you know, I
Yeah.
had braces. Like I was a little girl.
Sure.
Crazy.
Ann is joining us in studio. You can follow her. She's on Instagram. What is your Instagram? Is it
It's Ann Wilson Music.
just Ann Wilson Music? How'd you get that? Wait a second. How in the world did you get Ann Wilson
Well,
Music?
it's spelled
It's
different.
spelled
Yeah, it's
different.
spelled different. I have an E on the end of mine. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. We'll come back and talk with the real deal Ann Wilson. Coming up next segment. Ann Wilson is in the studio with us. The new song is called Rain in the Rear View. Great. It's fun. How was it at the Opry? I know that was, you've been there before.
Yeah, many times. I love the Opry.
Yeah.
It's my favorite place to perform, and I love it there so much. And yeah, it's always so special getting to step in the circle. It's magical.
It is. Of all the places that you played, what's one of the like greatest, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is actually working. You have that moment?
Yeah.
Because your life, y'all, man, listen, here's the thing with you guys, the artists and singers and stuff, y'all are whack. You think no one likes you. You're like, oh, you're not super confident. But then you get on stage and you are. But I know inside you're like, oh, I hope people like me. Did you have a moment where you're like, oh, wow, look at this?
Yeah. I mean, when I was nominated for a Grammy, when my record was nominated, I remember like that moment being like, wow, this is actually working. Like I don't know, it hadn't connected in my head yet.
Yeah.
Because I still think of myself as like 15-year-old little Ann from Kentucky. You know, like it's hard for me to think of myself as like Ann Wilson. You know, it's just because for me, it's like doing this because of my brother passed away and like my perspective is so different. So that was a moment for me. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually doing this.
I
with
love
my
that.
life.
I love that you feel like you're still that little girl. And you know, don't lose that.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, go and do stuff that, 15-year-old Ann liked.
Yeah.
That way
Yeah.
you stay in touch with her and go, okay, I'm still rooted in where I was, where I came from, who I really, really am at the core. Because man, I see so many people who lose it and then they get lost and they don't know where they're at. But then again, I also, after listening to your album and the lyrics and all that, I think you actually have a good idea of who you are.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. The album is called Rebel, Rebel, Rebel. I'm not sure why I spelled rebel, but I'm so used to giving like keywords out.
You know what? Hey, Big D, spell rebel.
Rebel. There you go, Ann Wilson, and you can follow her on Instagram, Ann Wilson Music. It's ANNE. Ann
Yes.
Wilson. Thank you
Yes.
for coming by. So good to see you.
Thank you for
We're
having me.
fans. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, because over the years, teenage kids have told you to like and subscribe, we don't have to say that anymore.
You know what to do.